Joker, Thanos, Mamoru Uchiha, Aizen, Frieza, Doflamingo. What do these characters have in common? That's right, they're absolutely all dripped out. That's besides the point. I have no idea why I even asked you. You are clearly an idiot. After all, you are watching my video. Shame. Shame on you. Well, back to what I was getting at. What do these characters have in common? They're villains. Great villains, to be exact. But what makes a villain truly great? Is it their powers, their design, their backstory, or is it how they interact with their adversary? Well, if it wasn't blatantly obvious, it's actually a mix of all things I just fucking said. Wow. Shocker, am I right? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite animes, Yu Yu Hakusho. That character being the villain of the Dark Tournament arc, the Younger Toguro Brother. Now, at first glance, Younger Toguro seems like the average stoic meathead of a villain, and you'd be wrong. You see, Toguro, which is how I'm going to be referring him for the rest of this video, because I'm already so sick and tired of saying Younger Toguro or Younger Toguro Brother. Well, as I was saying, you see, Toguro is just like the Transformers, more than what meets the eye. So let's dive into what I believe to be one of the best characters of Yu Yu Hakusho, Toguro. Now let's get this shit started with some backstory. Spoilers ahead, obviously. Toguro was a famous martial artist. This led to him getting a dojo built by him, his brother, and his lover at the time, Genkai, who would later be the teacher of the show's protagonist, Yusuke Urameshi. 50 years later, one fateful day, a demon known as Kairin invaded and murdered all Toguro's beloved students while he was away. Not only that, but he totally trashed the place, because why the fuck not? After you committed mass homicide, why not do a little vandalism too? Obviously this threw Toguro off the rails, so naturally he sought vengeance. So somehow Toguro got word that Kari was favored to win an infamous martial arts tournament held within the demon world called the Dark Tournament. Hearing this, Toguro entered with a team to seek out his vengeance. With Toguro's talent along with the help of Genkai, Toguro blitzed through the competition in no time. After successfully taking his revenge on Karin, Toguro had won the tournament and won the prize. Was anything he could wish for. This was possible due to the tournament runner's big power and influence in the underground world. Plus, I imagine a little bit of magic. Toguro and his older brother wished to be powerful demons. More specifically, I think Toguro wished for power and his older brother more or less wished to be immortal. However, Genkai just wished to never be disturbed by the tournament ever again. Pretty much her telling everybody to fuck off. After the aftermath of the tournament, Toguro and Genkai obviously drifted apart. She couldn't really be with him anymore after what he's become, and Toguro kinda just wanted to be by himself. Well, by himself plus his brother. As the days became months and the months became years, time obviously went on. Toguro became a mercenary and Genkai more or less becoming a hermit, waiting for a successor whom she could teach her skills upon. However, this difficult period in life had officially broken Toguro. All the mindless killing for nothing more than money has officially turned him into a soulless monster, a self-informed self of what he used to be. He has unfortunately become what he hated the most, a monster, just like the one that took away his students. During this time, Toguro has actually cherry-picked two men whom he saw potential in, officially killing him, ending his suffering. These two men being Bui and Karasu. Toguro would eventually find a third person for whom he saw potential in, the third being the show's protagonist, Yusuke Urameshi. Toguro would first encounter Yusuke on their mission to rescue Princess Yukina. After losing to Yusuke, on purpose I might add, he stalked Yusuke all the way home to give him an invitation to meet him in the Dark Tournament. To persuade Yusuke into accepting his offer, he shows a little bit of his full power, completely decimating a construction site near him, and this causes Yusuke to go into shock. Pause for a second. May I remind you that in this point of the story, Yusuke has literally stopped a zombie apocalypse caused by notorious demon criminals called the Heavenly Kings, and is already brushed with death already. And this is the first time, the very first time, he is completely shocked, can't say anything. Yusuke in the story so far is very cocky and overconfident, always has something smart to say out of his mouth, but the second Toguro switches on and shows a little bit of what he can actually do, he is completely speechless, complete shock and awe, which in turn tells the audience that Toguro is no one to be trifled with. Along with the invitation comes a threat. No, a promise that if Yusuke doesn't show, he is going to track down all the people that he loves, torture them slowly, and then kill him. Obviously right after he's killed his loved ones. And while Yusuke might be arrogant, he's not a dumbass. He obviously knows that Toguro will keep good on his word. so he doesn't test them. And while this is all going down, Kuwabara from a distance can also see everything that's happening, so he rightfully too is scared shitless. This causes our heroes to get in gear and start training for the Dark Tournament. Yusuke splits off with Genkai to start new training, while the other three all trade each other. Basically, Kurama and Hiei get to take turns on beating the shit out of Kuwabara. I don't really understand why that's considered training, but with this logic, I guess my friends can no longer judge me for beating the shit on my desk when I get angry. After all, I'm just training it, I guess. Well, toxic friendships aside, everybody manages to complete their training. Now all that's left is for Yusuke, Kuwabara, Hiei, and Kurama, and Genkai, who is just disguised as the Masked Warrior at this point, to take on the Dark Tournament. Multiple matches later against very dangerous demonic teams, Yusuke and Ko have finally made it to the finals of the Dark Tournament, to face off against Toguro and his team, consisting of his older brother, Karasu, and Bui. However, on the day before the tournament, Toguro and Genkai would face off one last time, which would unfortunately result in Genkai's death. This obviously would send Yusuke into a blinding rage and thirst for vengeance. On the actual day of the finals of the tournament, it would all come down to Toguro and Yusuke. Obviously, since Yusuke is the main protagonist and Toguro seems to be the main antagonist of the arc. Either way, the climax of the arc was about to get started. Now after a couple of back and forth from brutal blows and mind-blowing power-ups, the fight had taken a weird turn. Genkai had come back, but back in a spiritual form, possessing Yusuke's spiritual beast. Oh yeah, by the way, Yusuke has a spirit beast. It's like sort of a manifestation of Yusuke's inner self that he had to raise since it was an egg in order to pass some ordeal to get his life back in the first arc. It has nothing to do with what's going on right now, just know that's pretty weird and that it exists. Its name is Pooh, by the way. A adorable motherfucker looks like a fucking Furby at such of Terriermon, and for some reason came out Smurf blue. Either way, shit gets grim when Genkai suggests that Toguro just kill one of Yusuke's friends, because for some reason, even though the situation's really dire, he can't dig deep down into his emotions to actually pull out his potential to kick Togoro's ass. This shit also immediately pissing Yusuke off, obviously. After all, Yusuke isn't really even done mourning Genkai's death, and here she is right in front of him, possessing a spirit beast, suggesting that Toguro just off one of his fucking friends so he can learn his lesson. This also doesn't sit right with everybody else in Team Urameshi, but despite how everybody feels, Toguro obviously has no qualms with killing people to get what he wants. And unfortunately for good old Kuwabara, Toguro has suggested that he is best suited to die to push Yusuke in the right direction. However, Kuwabara, having absolutely no iota of bitch in his DNA, charges forward at Toguro, refusing to back down from the threat like a coward, which results in Kuwabara getting shot by Toguro, seemingly ending his life dead on the floor. This sudden tragedy successfully pushing Yusuke off the emotional edge. With this, the final moments of the fight take place, with Yusuke, as expected, being the protagonist at all, triumphant over Toguro. But luckily, the fight doesn't end in a depressing note, because it turns out Toguro had actually missed a vital part of Kuwabara and didn't kill him. Soon after the tournament, we see Toguro in the spirit realm, talking to Koenma. It turns out that due to Togoro's circumstances, he's actually permitted to pass into heaven. They recognize that despite his years as a demon, he actually did a lot more harm than good in his human life when compared to his demon life. Not only that, but they recognize the internal turmoil he's been dealing with, and seeing that he kind of punched himself enough and doesn't really need to go into hell, because it seems like he's pretty much repented enough and truly regrets his actions. However, that's not good enough for Toguro, for he actually decided that no matter what, he's going through Hell's Gate. And despite Koenma trying to convince him that it doesn't need to be this way, he's headstrong into going into hell. And after a tearful goodbye between him and Genkai, off he goes into Hell's Gates, to forever be punished with the worst of the worst that the world had to offer. Now to go into detail of the character of Toguro. Just like I said, there's more than what meets the eye. See, Toguro is quite headstrong and stoic in nature, which makes him likable, or at least it makes him likable to me. Not only that, but his whole character arc of seeking death by combat I felt really engaging. In Togoro's own mind, he had officially becoming a monster, and needed to be put down. However, being a warrior at heart, Toguro just couldn't kill himself. He needed to be killed by someone, which would in turn kill two birds with one stone. He'd be able to die a warrior's death and see his reign of terror be put to an end, which is precisely why he spared the lives of Karasu and Bui, hoping that one day their hatred would grow, which would cause them to get more stronger, which would eventually lead to them killing him. However, as the years passed, he saw that they weren't gonna cut it. All had seemed lost for Toguro until he met Yusuke. Toguro had more faith in Yusuke in killing him because he saw a reflection of himself inside of Yusuke, back when he was cocky and full of potential, while also being optimistic and somewhat naive, long before he grew cold, stoic, and nihilistic, which drove Toguro in playing the power-mad meathead of a villain that Yusuke had thought he was. To further control Yusuke's development as a fighter, he even sought out to kill his master Genkai to fuel the flames of hatred, in hopes that would make Yusuke a little bit stronger for the coming fight. However, more emotional manipulating had to be done. For Yusuke was a little too much like Toguro in his younger days, as in they both had a thick emotional wall of bullshit, which was hard to get through, leading Toguro to kill Kuwabara, or at least tricking Yusuke into thinking that he killed Kuwabara. After all, Toguro didn't kill Kuwabara on purpose, because even he knows that too much tragedy could turn the most heroic people into monsters. In a way, Toguro had actually spared Yusuke into walking down the path that he had chosen. After all Toguro wanted was to be put down, not for someone to take his place as man-made monster. He couldn't let Yusuke's heart fall to the same weakness his had years ago. However, after succeeding his mission in glorious death by combat in the spirit world, he still felt empty. He still felt guilty, feeling that for some reason that he still needed to be punished, falling deeper into his emotional black hole. He had known they would let him pass into heaven, but he just couldn't accept that. Even after all had been forgiven, Genkai had forgave him, Yusuke had forgave him, hell, even Koema, who is quite literally the son of God in this universe, had forgiven. Everybody could let Toguro off the hook, except for Toguro himself. And Genkai, knowing damn well he was going to do this to himself, and knowing damn well that she also couldn't stop him, she would at least see him off on his journey, finally being able to close the door on her lost love. A quick tangent before I move on. I must say, I gotta love the detail of the Yu Yu Hakusho anime puts near the end of the arc, with the ending theme. That theme in question being Unbalanced na Kiss Oshite, or as it's referred to in English, an unbalanced kiss. The song tells a sad tale of two lovers that have seemed to be losing their love for each other. Huh, a sad love story about two lovers. I wonder if that's reflecting upon anybody in the anime currently. Well, regardless of whatever deeper meaning the song has, shit still slaps. Alright, time to move back on track. Toguro's inability to forgive himself for his past mistakes makes for a really great story to be told. This beautiful arc is probably one of the reasons why Toguro is, if not one of my favorite anime villains to ever exist. It's so sympathetic yet charming. All that along with his very threatening presence and very sad love story with Genkai makes for a great villain. Another reason why Toguro is a great villain is his ability to completely mirror the protagonist himself. You could easily see Yusuke going down the same path as Toguro if he was ever put in the same situation. This duality of antagonist and protagonist is what I believe makes good chemistry between hero and villain. The hero and villain share somewhat of an understanding and respect for one another because essentially they're one and the same. Two sides, same coin. A great example of this hero and villain chemistry lies between Batman and the Joker. This is shown perfectly in the story The Killing Joke. At the end of the story, Joker and Batman go through a lot, and Mr. J and Babs actually share a tender moment, which actually ends in Joker telling Batman a joke, and the two share a laugh. For a brief second, the two are able to truly see where the other is coming from, and relate to one another. This level of understanding is what actually leads to Yusuke being able to forgive Toguro. For all that being said, these are pretty much like all the reasons why I fucks with Toguro. He's just kind of perfect in my eyes. And hopefully I was able to not only educate you on Toguro, but also maybe change people's minds about Toguro, because there are some people who I've known who've consumed Yu Yu Hakusho and actually just kind of downplay his character, and I don't see why, but hopefully this video will change some of that. I would also like to add that even though I like Toguro, I don't believe that every villain should be like Toguro. That's just kind of ridiculous. I just think he's a well-written archetype of the certain villain that he is. Well, now that I've said my piece, I think it's time to wrap this video up. I've been Dapper'z, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. CYF.
Big ass, we can stay out smoking big gas. Money crash, bring a nigga around my city, I'll be outside here relaxed.